Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, and in particular the AWD1100 C# Programming Fundamentals class, I have been doing a series of video presentations on the book we're using for the class, as you can see here, Muroc C# 2015. So far I've done lectures on the first 6 chapters, not quite done with chapter 6, but I also came in and did lectures where I'm writing a kind of a perpetual living, breathing program, but the one I wrote was only using GUI. Alright, it was a graphical user interface program. So I've come back and I've rewritten it using a console program. Alright, first thing to realize, I may have mentioned this before, I may not have, but anything that's gray in here is not being used. So I could remove it or let the system remove it for me by moving my mouse here, clicking on the little lightning bolt or light bulb that comes up, and choose Remove Unnecessary Listings. So now it's only got the using system and the using system static.console. This one I added in the last program, and I told you I would tell you that. Now, notice in here where I say write and etc. If I left this out, so if I commented that out, I'm going to get errors under all those. I'd have to change this to system.console. See that? So by putting that using statement in there, using static system.console, which I have found that I use on virtually any console program that requires input and or output. All right, that makes it much easier. Again, we're not using these constants yet, but since I brought them in to the last program, I also put them into this one. That's the only reason. Didn't have to do that. They add nothing. They're really virtually doing nothing, all right, in the program. All right, here were our variables. I made them all global so I didn't have to pass them around from routine to routine. Declaring something up outside of any method, as I'm doing here, all right, declaring them outside of any method makes them global to the program. So in other words, I don't have to do anything special. I can just use them in any routine I have in the program itself, which in this case is what I wanted to do. Then I've got main, which calls input values, where I do my inputs. All right, and then it calls run program again, which is kind of a dumb name, so I'm going to change this to exit the program. Now it'll give me the squigglies because I haven't written that yet. Yes, I have. I just have to rename this exit the program. All right, so let's play computer here. I call input values from main. Input values has to be static because it's being called from main. I believe if I got rid of this and I put, for example, private here, I'd get an error message. All right, if you ever get that and it comes up and says an object reference is required for the non-static field, it means it's expecting that to be static. Okay, so I input the first name. I've got a write statement, so that writes on the screen, please enter the first name. And then I input it. Now let's put a \n here, so I've got a blank line between these. Please enter the last name, and it does it. Put another \n here. Please enter the hours worked, and it allows me to do that. Please enter the hourly rate, and it allows me to do that. You'll notice these first two are just read lines. That's because first name and last name were declared as being strings. On the other hand, hours worked and hourly rate were both declared as being decimal values. So I have to convert there. Whatever I'm reading in, I've got to convert it to a decimal. And that's what I'm doing. Now that I have a first name and a last name and an hours worked and an hourly rate, I can call calculate gross pay, which is just hours worked times hourly rate. Then I call print totals. All right. I forgot to add my first name and my last name, so let's put those in. So first name, last name, and you'll notice right here there's none of this two-string stuff for the same reason I mentioned to you before, and that is the fact that I already have a first name and a last name. What I don't have here are my ending parentheses. All right. These three values, hours worked, hourly rate, and gross pay, must be converted to a string. And actually, they probably would work if I didn't. But since I want to format them and say hours worked, I want 2 decimal places. Hourly rate, I want it to be currency, which will automatically give me a $sign, 2 decimal places, and a comma if needed. And same with gross pay. Now, on those, I'm going to put in some more \n's. Why? Just because I want the program to look a little nicer. It's me doing a little bit of aesthetic formatting. Do I have to do that? No. Does it make the program run any better? Absolutely not. And then I tell the user to exit the program now. Just hit the enter key. And in fact, all I need now here is a read line. So it's a crisp little 70-line program. All right, I will save it again. And let's see if we can do this. We'll run it. Now I'm going to cut this way down. All right, please enter first name. So what is that? That is this line right here. So if I put Jeff in here and I hit enter, which I will in a moment, it'll take whatever I put in there, which was Jeff, and assign it to first name, and then it should ask me to enter the last name. See that it does. Same kind of thing. I put in Scott. Now as soon as I hit enter, it'll ask for an hours worked. Now the program will blow up if I put in something non-numeric. We'll worry about that later. But if I come through here now and hit enter, it's going to say please enter hours worked. And I'm going to put in 20. So it'll take that 20, try to convert it to a decimal number. It can. So it'll put it in hours worked, and it'll ask me to put in an hourly rate. So 20. So it's again asking me to put in an hourly rate. As soon as I put in 20, boom, I hit enter. Now it's going to call calculate gross pay, where it'll take the 20 for hours worked, and let's make this 30, and multiply it by the 30 for hourly rate. So gross pay will equal 600. Then it will call print totals. All right, which will print out the first name and the value, last name and the value, hours worked and the value, hourly rate and the value, and gross pay and the value. Okay? It's not letting me change that because the programs are running right now. So as soon as I hit enter, boom. So there's my program with my line breaks in it. So it looks a little easier to read. So to exit the program now, just hit the enter key. That is coming from here. But I want you to realize that the calling sequence in the program, I called input values, which did all of this stuff. Then this input value is called calculate gross pay, which did this. Then calculate gross pay called print totals, which did this. But print totals did not call exit the program now. It could have, but since it didn't, as soon as the program hits this line, it goes back up to main, and it says, oh, main, you called exit the program. So it runs that. That's the calling sequence. Come back here, hit the enter key. I'm not sure why, but the program should have ended. Let's see if we can try it again and make it end. Jeff Scott 2010, hit enter, boom. That's a down and dirty, quick little representation of me rewriting the chapters 2 and 3 GUIized program that we did, rewriting it as a console application. All right, so I'm going to do a file, save all, and I'm going to close this and try to close this. There we go. Got to go back to my desktop, and I've got to find my Chapter 4 program. Not sure if this is it. It should be. But let's grab this Chapter 4, and we'll throw it into C# programs. Done. All right. Now, I have written my Chapters 2 and 3 program and rewritten it as a console program. Here's my Chapter 4 program. Doesn't look like it wants to bring up. So, Chapters 2 and 3, I don't need that. Oh, it was that one. I'm sorry. That's because probably an error on my part, but we'll see. Probably because I used the Chapters 2 and 3 program and just copied that over. That's probably why that's there. So I have come back and I have done a program for Chapters 2 and 3, as you can see. All right, now I want to see if there's one I have to do for 4 and 5, or if I want to see how I did that one. How's that? So let's look back in here. I have a Chapter 4 program and a Chapter 5 program. Doesn't mean I necessarily did anything for Chapter 4 here. Let's look. Oh, okay, this is where we have our totals. Let's see if this works. First name valid. That was interesting. Maybe I didn't finish this program. Let me go back and take a quick look, and then I'll come back with the next lecture.